They're to you.
We have responsibly put military.
The answer is zero.
First.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but
You don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain why was...
they all serve at the pleasure of the president. And I think
No, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example.
I'm just asking you why.
That we
I
need
think you
at
probably
this
learned
time.
at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we
Why
want better
did you
representation
fire
in
him?
each and every of those.
You can't
each and
explain
every
why
one
you
of those
fired any of
places.
them?
America's Secretary of Defense couldn't answer one of the simplest questions of the hearing, not because the number was classified, but because he didn't know it. And what happened over the next several minutes only made things worse.
I don't think that's correct. So let's move on to your managerial incompetence. I think we can see why you misunderstood the president, because you're obviously misunderstanding my questions. Less than a month into the job, you fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, C.Q. Brown, and the chief of naval operations, Lisa Franchetti, without cause. And to this day, you still have not provided an adequate explanation for removing them. As far as I can tell, you fired C.Q. Brown because he was black and Lisa Franchetti because she is a woman. So nearly 4 months later, we still don't have a new nominee for Chief of Naval Operations. News reports, and you can contest it, but I'd love to hear your answer, say that you haven't nominated someone because qualified admirals keep turning the position down. So tell me, Mr. Secretary, when will Congress receive your nomination for the next chairman of the next chief of naval operations?
Ma'am, with all due respect, I would suggest not believing every headline you read.
With all due respect, I'd like your nomination. When will we see it?
There has not a single admiral or any military official has turned down a position that's been.
So when will we
provided.
see your nominee for the chief of naval operations?
In due time, for all the right reasons.
8 senior officers, decades of service each, no explanations given, not to Congress, not to the public. And here's the part that's easy to miss. It wasn't only Democrats raising the
We want moral
alarm.
clarity, we want strength when it comes to Russia. Secondly, I also share concerns about the firing of the generals. Yes, it's currently very much your constitutional right to fire and hire generals, and the president has that right. But there's also decency involved here. I've known many of these people. I was served with most of these folks when I was a colonel and as a 1-star. I knew one as a captain. They served their whole adult life. And I think they deserved an explanation why they were fired. And I think the American people deserve that as well. And the impact on Cyber Command, having General Hawk fired. We groomed him for over a decade to fill those shoes. And I don't know that anybody can fill those shoes right now. It's going to take a year or two for people to get there. I really believe that the most happy people on the firing of General Hawk was Russia and China. Now for my questions. I'm on the cyber subcommittee, I chair that committee. We learn and we know.
When a 30-year Air Force veteran from the president's own party says Russia and China celebrated your personnel decisions, that's not partisan noise. Now go back to the man who asked the question. Because it's 8 was only where Seth Moulton started.
Secretary Hegseth, I'd like to clarify a few important details for the record. When you texted the launch time for F-18s going into combat over enemy territory facing anti-aircraft missiles on an unclassified signal chat, did that launch time come from Central Command, yes or no?
I know what you're referring to, and there were no
It's a very simple question. Did it come from? It's a very
or-
simple question. Did it come from Central Command?
Well, in this committee, no way in which I communicate or what I communicate on a successful strike is something that I would share.
So you can't even identify the combatant command under which this operation occurred?
Well, everybody knows the.
Okay, so everyone knows it's Central Command. So when Central Command sent you this information, did they send it on a classified system or an unclassified system?
Well, as you know, having served yourself, any way that the Secretary of Defense communicates or provides information in and of itself is classified and not to be discussed.
So what was the classification marking of the launch time when it was sent to you? Because DoD regulations require information on classified systems to be marked.
What was the classification mark time?
Yeah, what was the classification marking? Because
Again,
DoD
classifications of any information in an ongoing operation that was successful are not things that would be disclosed in a public forum.
But you can very well disclose whether or not it was classified. It's not classified to disclose whether or not it was classified. And in fact, DoD regulations state that any classified information has to be labeled with its classification. Was it classified secret or top secret?
What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not
Okay,
trying to
that's
say
what
anything.
I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the
I mean,
time,
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
as I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not?
As
We've
I
already
said,
established, you've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
Okay, so if it is
what
confirmed,
I know is that
will you take
everything I
accountability?
share, everything I talk about,
Mr.
as
Secretary,
of
does
Defense
accountability apply to you or not?
is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me or not?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
Watch
And
the
you know
trap
what?
again. To avoid the question, he argues that everything he communicates is classified. But the whole scandal is that he shared it on an unclassified app. His own defense just became the accusation, and Moulton
Right, talk or
wasn't
not.
finished.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me or not?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary. at the
And you know
Pentagon.
what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm
ship
just asking if it applies
very
to you.
successfully.
I'm not asking about the
previous
Houthis.
administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on
I'm
the
just
battlefield,
asking about
we
I reclaim
actually
my
put them
time.
in a place
I
where
reclaim
they
my time.
called for a ceasefire.
I claim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by example.
Of course, unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you.
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it costs.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told
the
it's
sea.
several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S.-flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration.
The answer
we
is
had
zero.
Military vessels transit.
No, I
around
didn't ask
just
about
this
military
week.
vessels. I
Well, which
asked
would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for
How many
civilian and
commercial vessels?
transit,
It's been several
thankfully.
weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have
Well,
transited the Red
would
Sea?
you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The
through
questions
dam
are not to
for
me,
military
Mr.
ships?
Secretary.
I
They're to
serve at
you.
the
We have
pleasure of the president. That was the answer to every hard question of the day. The firings, the signal texts, and the next one, a command left without a
in
commander.
my state, Mr. Secretary, earlier this year, General Hawk was relieved of his command of CyberCom and NSA following a tweet that accused him of being disloyal to the president. And the oath that you took, the oath that I took, does not demand loyalty to any president, but to this Constitution. I too brought my copy from college with me. And yet, as of this date, General Hawk, his successor has not yet been named, and you've stated many times that lethality of the military is critical, so it's difficult to understand how this administration would allow any billet to remain unfilled, especially those who lead our combatant commands. I join my colleague, Congressman Bacon, in my grave concern that both the firing and the delay in hiring of a leader of CyberCom only gives assurance and comfort to our adversaries. So I'm sure you would agree that any combatant command cannot be at its most lethal if a commander remains absent. When will the president announce the new commander of CyberCom?
I would note there's a very highly capable deputy there, so it's
Absolutely, I
not
agree.
adrift at all. We recognize that, and we are in the process of ensuring that slot is filled.
In the next month, 2 months, 3 months?
It will not be that long.
Okay, I appreciate
So he
that.
fires the generals, can't say why, and can't say when they'll be replaced, which raises the obvious question, does he know the basics of the job itself? One congressman decided to test exactly that.
Mr. Secretary, many believed you were underqualified for this role. You've been secretary for 4.5 months now. For the sake of the American people And our service members, I hope you've done your homework since. Let's talk Indo-PACOM. What year has the Navy publicly set as the benchmark for being ready to fight a war with China?
Well, it needs to be right now. We know what China
I'm
has
glad
said.
to hear that, but there is a
it's right
publicly
now.
set date.
Well, we know it wouldn't be
Let me help you
prudent
out.
for me in this environment to
2027.
reveal when we think we're ready. That's what China has said, and we understand what they're
Secretary,
saying,
I
and
asked
we want to
for
be
a year.
capable and ready for it.
Not a filibuster. 2027 is the year. According to unclassified DoD assessments, how many warships does China have in its Navy today?
Many and growing.
370. It's the largest Navy in the world. How many does the U.S. Navy have today?
Thanks to this budget, it's
It's a
increasing
number. I'm looking for a
substantially,
number.
but it's just south of 300.
296, pretty close. How many ships is China expected to field by 2030?
I believe that's a classified number, but it's going to
There's
go
a
up
DoD
at a rapid rate.
CMPR report that was released. There's an unclassified number.
It's going up at a rapid rate.
Let me help you out. 435. Let's see if we do better in EUCOM. What corridor in eastern Poland is vulnerable and a priority for U.S. reinforcements? It connects Belarus to a Russian region.
I'm sure you can tell me.
I can tell you. It's the Suwalki Gap. Which heavily militarized Russian territory connected the Suwalki Gap? It contains nuclear-capable missiles. It threatens all of NATO. It's right there in the middle of Eastern Europe.
I see we're playing a quiz game here.
It's
Ultimately,
Kaliningrad
thankfully,
Oblast.
we're
Let
getting
me-
our NATO allies to step up in their spending to make sure that they can hold the
Mr.
line.
Secretary, I asked you a specific question. Thank you. It's Kaliningrad Oblast. So what percentage of Ukrainian frontline casualties, let's talk drones, are now caused by FPV drones?
A very large percentage, and we're studying that conflict closely to understand
I hope so.
that fact.
It's over 70%. And which U.S. service has written doctrine or standardized procurement for integration of FPV drones?
That's the Army.
I
5
wish that
basic
were the-
questions about America's biggest threats. 5 answers he didn't have. But the hardest question of the hearing wasn't about numbers at all. It came from the mother of an F-18 pilot.
Let me turn to a different topic. A few weeks ago, when my office opened up in Fredericksburg, I spoke to the mother of one F-18 pilot who flew the March 15th mission over the Red Sea in Yemen that you discussed over Signal. I spoke to her again on Tuesday and asked her if there was anything she wanted me to bring up. She believes that you need to resign. She also had several questions, but one thing she said she would appreciate an apology for putting classified information. Her son couldn't even tell her where the Truman was going, but into the Houthi PC small group Signal chat that risked her son's life and the mission. Mr. Secretary, yes or no, do you think you owe her an apology?
Please make sure to let her know how grateful we are for the skill and heroism of her.
I am very much grateful. I'm sure everybody in this room is grateful. I'm proud of what her son has done. The question is, do you owe her an apology for your actions? Are you going to be accountable?
It was an incredibly successful mission. Her son did great
They
work.
did a magnificent
and
job.
Thankfully, the Houthi campaign was successful.
Secretary, I agree with you. Magnificent job. The performance of those pilots and Navy personnel, magnificent. We're talking about what you did and accountability. Are you going to apologize to the mother or not?
I don't apologize for success.
You don't apologize for putting her son's life in danger and for putting the mission in jeopardy. Well, that's really disappointing and not befitting the type of leadership that our troops and families deserve. It's frankly a stunning lack of OPSEC. Privates are trained to do much better than that. It was reckless. And it sounds like that accountability doesn't extend as far as the Secretary of Defense. So I think you should resign. The mother says she wants you gone. And with that, I yield back.
That was the
Gentleman yields
day's
back.
most repeated line by evening. But the final word didn't come from a Democrat or a Republican. It came from the committee itself about what this job actually
Leadership of the
requires.
committee, obviously highly contentious time. The only comment I would make, a number of members of the other side expressed outrage that we were critical of Secretary Hegseth. I don't know how many of those members sat here when Joe Biden was president, but the savage attacks on Biden and Secretary Austin and Chairman Milley, I mean, the hypocrisy of that was just breathtaking for me to behold. And let me just say, I think I agree with what Mr. Bell just said. You know, tough job. Not as tough as a lot of other jobs, but part of it is you are accountable to this body, and you are accountable to answer questions, even if sometimes they are obnoxious. That's part of the gig. And I do hope going forward that the Department of Defense will have greater contact with this committee. I have not spoken to you one-on-one in the entire time you've been Secretary of Defense, only interacted with you twice. I've been through a ton of Secretaries of Defense that served for presidents, including President Trump. Always had a very good relationship and a very good conversation. Your department is cutting us off in a way that is not helpful to any of the bipartisan hopes that have been expressed by the other side of the aisle. I hope that will change. I hope there will be interactions. I will say, General Kane, you've been very generous and reached out. I've had good communication, and I do appreciate that, because that is responsibility of the job. I haven't met too many people at the Pentagon that like coming over here. In fact, I can't think of one, but it is part of the job in a constitutional republic. We are the people's voice. We are charged with conducting oversight. So I hope that interaction will continue.
Step back and count what one hearing revealed. 8 senior officers fired, and a secretary who didn't know the number. No explanations, not even for the Republicans asking. A classification trap he walked into with his own words. Accountability that, by his own answer, stops at the president's desk. A cyber command with no commander. 5 basic questions about China and Russia, 0 answers. And a mother asking for an apology that never came. Each of these alone is a bad day. Together, they're a pattern. So here's the question I keep coming back to. If the number really is just 8, why was it so hard to say? Was it that he didn't know, or that explaining even one name opens a door he can't close? Drop your take below.